Okay, this is a classic game here, Botvinnik versus Capablanca, played in the Avro tournament of 1938. Botvinnik and Capablanca were both chess world champions, FIDE over-the-board world champions. Although Botvinnik was the successor of Capablanca, who was regarded as one of the most naturally talented players of all time. Botvinnik, on the other hand, was regarded as a sort of scientist and father of the Soviet chess school. More noted for his theoretical preparation and technical style. So it was a really clash of styles, science versus talent. Botvinnik playing white played d4, Capablanca plays knight f6, c4, and now Capablanca uses the Nimzo Indian, which is a very highly reputable opening played by several world champions throughout the game. Knight c3, main line Nimzo Indian, bishop b4, e3, which is the Rubinstein variation, d5. Now, Botvinnik wastes a bit of time here playing a3, which is a little bit controversial to lose tempo playing it, because maybe perhaps more usual is bishop d3 or knight f3 here. So black fractures white's pawn structure and plays c5, immediately trying to get some tension in the centre. Botvinnik plays captures on d5, bishop d3, castles. So white's got the two bishops, but black has got potential pressure on the e file and tension in the centre. It's difficult perhaps for white also to do something with his bishop at the moment, blocked in by its own pawn structure. Knight ge2, not worried about c4 at all, because bishop c2, and then maybe white can just castles f3 and e4 later. A move like c4 releasing the tension is always a bit double-edged. b6, castles, bishop a6. So black does see this bishop as white's best bishop, and if he could just leave him with that one, it would seem as though white's getting positionally outplayed a bit, especially if control of this square can be attained, and the blockade generally on this pawn structure would keep this bishop hemmed in here. Nevertheless, Botvinnik takes that, and so he's left with what seemingly is a low prospect position, but it is a solid position, and perhaps this bishop can come out later. So Capablanca likes to have the two knights here, and bishop b2, it's a rather strange move to put your bishop behind two pawns like this, but Botvinnik sees potential position and is perhaps working for f3 and e4 later with due preparation. He doesn't want to play this too quickly because it will leave too many holes in his position. a4. Now there is potential now for bishop a3 at an opportune moment. c4, this is a bit controversial perhaps. Black should have made consideration for perhaps knight c7. Let's have a look at that. So here, perhaps white has some potential with takes, and c4 to unleash this bishop. So maybe that's what Capablanca didn't want. He wanted to keep this bishop locked in, so he played c4. But it does release this tension in the centre of being able to play d4. So now the knight retreats, and now white can more comfortably aim for an e4 with due preparation, which would unleash more pressure of the pieces. And he is playing now for the e4 plan, which black can do very little about. It's too late really to try and stop e4 with doubling rooks. So white's gaining a bit of space here, and it would be very nice for white if black takes here and the f-file is also coming in. Capablanca greedily takes this pawn, perhaps underestimating the incoming kingside attack. So now white's threatening f5, Can Capablanca really get away with this strategy of just winning this pawn and perhaps trying to queen this A pawn? Botvinnik's attacking potential going to be neutralised or not? F5, perhaps an inaccurate defence, but it's already quite difficult here. What is Capablanca doing to defend against F5 from white and F6 and say Queen F4 to H6 with crude threats of mating on G7? So here, it's looking dangerous for black. Although black is pawn down, pawn up rather. Rook at E6. This secures a dangerous pawn now for white on E6. Can black adequately defend this pawn? That's the question. After King G6, Queen F4, this now the Queen's threatening to infiltrate and perhaps use this F7 square as well. Queen E8, Queen D6, no, Queen E5. So it's getting a bit defensive now. This knight's pinned. This knight's difficult to get back into the game to defend the king. And this bishop's still got this possibility of bishop A3 at least, although bishop C1's been extinguished by that knight. But bishop A3 is also a latent threat. Queen E7 now. And now, this position I believe was recorded on a cake. It's a classic position with a classic sacrifice, which puts the game into the brilliancy prize category. Botvinnik did precisely calculate a brilliant combination here. I'll give you 5 seconds to have a look so you can see his move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He played the brilliant bishop A3, finally making use of this bishop which for the whole game had been hemmed in behind the pawn structure. So it's a decoy. So Capablanca takes, and now the second brilliant move, knight H5. Because after G takes, Queen here, G5, King moves, Queen takes F6. This pawn's now very, very dangerous on E6. King G8, E7. How can black stop this pawn? Not very easily is the answer. Check, King F2, and now can white save? Can white stop black from checking? Quite a few checks that occurred now. King goes up the board. Now white is threatening Queen F8 and queening, so black has to see if he can carry on checking. But after G4, the checks are getting less and less, and after King H5, there's no more checks, and there's still this ominous threat of Queen F8. A brilliant game by Botvinnik against the naturally talented